All right, cool.
Okay, welcome back. Carl Rominger here with Rominger Radio. Of course, we were talking in the first hour about global warming. I got a request for some music, but I've got a caller here. Caller, what's your name?
Hi, Carl, thanks for the show. This is Jude Lewis.
Hey, Jude, what's going on, brother?
Nothing, man. I just wanted to speak on the topic. I actually lost the data feed, so but Mike said you're speaking about global warming.
Yes. Yeah, we're on the global. We were talking about global warming in the first hour. I'm going to do a little bit actually about podcasting in the second hour because I had somebody basically send me a message saying, "Hey, why don't you play something?"
Are you live right now?
Yeah,
or what's up?
You're live, dude. You're live right now.
Yeah. So So global warming is it's real, but it's misunderstood.
Okay.
I mean, I know a lot about this. Man-made pollution is not the whole story. I mean, there's a little bit of it, but the atmosphere is able to disperse stuff like CO2. What's going on with global warming is the Earth moves around the sun in a galactic process.
Okay.
I mean, that's just known. So it moves around the sun. It's affected by energy that comes from basically the sun, and that probably comes from the galactic center, which is kind of a mystery to scientists. So we sort of process around that. It changes it changes the climate. The most important thing that's going on right now is to see, all bodies of water right now, and this is verifiable, are pluming hydrogen sulfide and methane. It's coming, those natural gases are in the crust, which is about 50 miles deep. And most people know about natural gas. Fracking is one way of exploiting it. But hydrogen sulfide and methane are extremely bad for life. Methane goes basically up. What the right-wing reporters like to say, like, oh, it's cow farts and stuff. It's not cow farts. Yeah, everybody farts out methane and stuff. That's not the issue. The issue is that it's just pluming from the crust. It goes right to the atmosphere, creates kind of a shield. And methane is like a pretty basic carbon compound. But the hydrogen sulfide is a heavier than air gas. So it sits like pretty low.
Okay.
And hydrogen sulfide, anybody can look this up, but it's extremely toxic. And it's also flammable. It's causing, it's also reactive with copper.
Well,
it's causing a lot of stuff to go on, like, for instance, plane crashes, landing gear failures. It settles in the landing gear, in the copper, and that fails to open. It also settles in cars. So cars just burst into flame, like, randomly. Also, houses explode because hydrogen sulfide sort of gets in the house. This is a problem, I think, that's been going on for about a decade. I'm not really sure, but it might have been going on for a longer time.
Well,
I mean, it's not like it all came out of the crust at once.
I can tell you...
It's building up.
I can tell you, hydrogen sulfide and methane are both byproducts not only of geologic processes, but also anaerobic decomposition. So
exactly. And when you have anaerobes, basically, it's just like a lot of the pollution and stuff has been promoting anaerobes. And so that's not like a mystery. Like, if you know a little bit of science, it's just like, it's just basic. This effect probably killed the dinosaurs. Like, they think, like, the couple theories are, okay, it was a huge meteorite impact.
Right.
That's probably not true. What was probably true is that the crust started emitting these gases, and it became unbreathable. And just basically wiped out Earth, except for animals that were able to be low enough to the ground, so that the hydrogen sulfide and methane, weren't around. And so that's why, like, you had, like, in the Jurassic, the Cretaceous, maybe like 65 million years ago, you had, like, mammals that were, like, pretty low to the ground. But what's going on is that's happening again, and people need to be aware of that. There is hydrogen sulfide floating around. If you get a whiff of hydrogen sulfide with a concentration of 1 particle per about 1 million, it's drop dead. Like, it's absolute drop dead. If it's a little higher than that, it just smells like sewer gas. It smells like rotting eggs, like farts.
Actually, hydrogen sulfide-related compounds are what cause bad breath because it comes from the anaerobic bacteria in your mouth.
So hydrogen sulfide is a pretty basic compound. It's really all around. That's not hydrogen sulfide itself is not the problem. The problem is the concentration of it. And 1 part per, I think it's about 1 part per million. I mean, I'm talking like instant death. Like, you drop dead. Like, you get a whiff of it, and you just die. It's that toxic.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a problem. And people need to be aware of it because it's out there. Of course, it's a gas. It's invisible. But really the problem right now that we're seeing in 2014 is that it accumulates in places where, in specific materials that kind of like eat up the hydrogen sulfide. So things like wood pallets eat it up, rubber eats it up, copper reacts with it. So enough concentration with copper will just burst into flame. Mm-hmm. So if a little cloud, an invisible cloud, say like, 1 by 3 feet or something, floats around and hits copper, it'll just burst into flame. I mean, that's just known. So it is, this hydrogen sulfide is like a well-known compound. It's a very basic, it's H2S, just a very basic compound. The problem is that it's now floating around in the biosphere, and it's causing problems. Like, so there are a couple of scientists who are basically documenting incident reports and trying to compile a case to just show the public what the effects are.
By the way,
what you're seeing is more plane crashes, landing gear failure. Almost every day there's a plane that has to do an emergency landing on its belly, landing gear failure. Cars explode, and people who go out on lakes on a very regular basis, even the Susquehanna, they might go out on a boat, and the boat comes back, and there's no person on it. The person just topples, dies, topples over, falls in the water. Police find the body. No foul play suspected. No toxins.
By the way,
hydrogen sulfide.
The Center for Disease Control, by the way. I
avoid bodies of water now, personally. I mean, it's not like if you go to a body of water, you're just going to drop dead, but there's a chance. And it happens every day.
OSHA says
what I wanted to talk about. That was it.
Yeah, OSHA says, by the way, just so you know, 50 parts per million would be for a 10-minute exposure would be the maximum peak, and the Center for Disease Control says 100 parts per million acute inhalation toxicity in human beings in about an hour or so. So yeah, it's not. There's a percentage. I guess it's more. Yeah, it's about a part per million. They're saying 100 parts per.
It's be toxic, and a little more than that is fatal on the spot. I'm talking like drop dead fatal, like just shuts down the respiratory system, die.
Yeah, if 100 parts per million is going to do you in an hour.
Causes neurotoxicity. So the theory is, okay, do you remember the face-eating incident in Florida last year?
Yeah, where the one guy was eating the face off the other guy.
All right, yeah.
Part of the zombie apocalypse.
Okay, so this guy drives over a bridge. Right, he drives over the bridge, a body of water. And it's just a guy with like a history, has relationships, and that's proven. And they blame this incident on bath salt, but he was tested negative for substances.
Right.
And that bath salt is basically a psychedelic amphetamine. It's like a bad drug.
Yeah.
So they think that they blame weird behavior on bath salt because you can buy it, but that's not the case with this guy. A lot of scientists think now he drove over the bridge, got a whiff, all right, but not a toxic whiff, but enough to basically destroy his brain. He parked the car, and he got naked. And he was basically found eating a bum's face and growling, nonverbal. And the cops had to shoot him. I mean, that's what neurotoxicity is. It basically destroys your brain and reduces you to basically an animal.
It's amazing.
So that is, there are some people now, that speculate he got a whiff of hydrogen sulfide driving over that bridge because his car was just 100 yards or so from that bridge. That's an example of like a local body of water where you might hit a cloud of hydrogen sulfide. So, I mean, that was a really weird incident. But there was a lot of, I mean, who gets naked and eats somebody's face? Like,
well,
almost like unheard of.
Yeah.
And they blamed it on drugs, but his tox report was negative. Like, it was baffling. Like, there was no explanation. So the hypothesis is he got the whiff of hydrogen sulfide. That's what hydrogen sulfide does. If you expose humans to it, if you expose mammals to it in the lab, it just basically eats your brain. You're left with like the R brain, the reptilian, part of the brain, and you're just an animal.
All right, my friend. I appreciate it.
Very strange, very strange stuff.
Yeah, that is. So, okay. Well, I appreciate it, and we'll talk some more about global warming. I'm going to go into.
But yeah, I think so. What's hour 2? We're going to be speaking on hour 2.
Yeah, this is hour 2 right now. We're into hour 2, so you'll be able to go back and listen to the podcast, see how you sounded.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to the podcast. So, but what's actually the topic right now?
Well, I was going to just talk about rights management because somebody had said to me, I want to talk about all kinds of things or whatever the callers want to talk about. But here's an interesting thing. Somebody says, "Oh, you should get this music for your podcast. You should, play this music when you leave."
Oh, yeah.
I'm like,
maybe you should talk about, I don't know.
Well, let me tell you.
I don't know. The Carl Rominger show is awesome, and I think it should be supported.
Well, I appreciate it. And if you just listen and maybe just share it on Facebook with your friends and pass CarlRominger.com on.
Yeah, that's no problem. All right, Carl. Thanks.
Our boss. Take care, man. So,
thanks.
So we get this built up. We'll get a real audience here. Again, the talk line number is 717-916-5189 if you want to jump on, 717-916-5189 if you've been whiffing some hydrogen sulfide while we talk and you want to jump on. Which reminds me, before we go into the rights management, since it is Mother's Day, let's see if we can get my mom on the phone here. Boy, now I got to figure out how to do this now, you see, because Skype is confusing to me. All right, let's try it. Let's say mom's number. See, I have to almost say it out loud, but I don't want to say it out loud because I don't want you guys all call my mom. Let's see if this works. I think I dialed it right. We'll see if she answers. Should be deaf anyhow, so it was a Skype connection. We're having trouble with it anyhow.
Hello.
Hey, Mom, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you? It's a beautiful day here. It's a picture-perfect day.
And that's up there in Western New York, huh?
Yeah. And since we had such a harsh winter, it's a day that everybody's enjoying very much.
Well, happy Mother's Day, first of all, since I didn't really get a chance to tell you earlier.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I did try calling you earlier today, by the way.
Pardon?
I did try to call you earlier today. I want to point that out.
I know. I noted that on my phone.
Okay,
I'm sorry
good.
I wasn't available.
So you saw my brothers or talked to my brothers today?
I talked to your brothers, and I saw Rob and Stacy and the kids, and had dinner with them at a very nice steak restaurant, and the steak was excellent.
Are they still really lame, or are they getting more interesting as time goes on?
They're fine.
So what else did I want to ask you? So are you planting a garden this year? Where are we at on the gardening?
I am going to, but I've got the garden wizard lady who runs the Garden Wizard company to come, and she's going to rototill it up and put in compost for me because I don't have a rototiller, and she does.
Now down here, Mom, people always say you can plant Mother's Day as kind of the hard frost cutoff. Now, obviously, you could have put a plant in on Easter down here, and we haven't had a frost since. But
ours is May 30th, the Memorial Day weekend, generally around that time. So we're about a week and a half or 2 weeks later than you are.
Yeah, you're like one burpee growing zone north, I think.
Yep. And I plan on planting. I got some diverse carrots different colors, different those ones that you see in the very posh ads for gourmet foods and things. So I'm going to plant some of those this year.
Cool.
Besides
cool.
my heirloom tomatoes.
Oh, yes. Well, it just so happens I'll reveal that you have some more heirloom tomato seeds on the way. That was your Mother's Day gift.
Yeah.
So
anyway, well, thank you for having me. I won't keep you very long.
All right.
But, I enjoy being on.
Well, good. Let me tell you what's going on so you know, because I haven't really told you about this yet. I don't tell you anything, so here you go. Today's Sunday, and what we're going to do is every Sunday from 6 to 9 have this live podcast, okay? And we've had 2 callers so far. It's going to take a while to build the callers up, so I just have to filibuster and talk. That's why I'm making you hang out on the phone longer than you want. But long story short, then on Wednesday nights, we're going to do a shorter 2-hour broadcast. So it'll be 5 hours a week, 7 to 9 on Wednesdays, 6 to 9 on Sundays. We'll take people's calls. It's kind of going to have a national theme. So because we're not really limited by a transmitter, it's an internet broadcast and anybody can listen anywhere. We figure why keep it local when you can make it all over the place. It doesn't mean we won't talk about local things and that sort of idea, but the idea would be talking about bigger issues. So we've been talking about global warming. I've been, of course, claiming it's a farce and not real and just designed to fool us poor Americans into giving up all our wealth for the poor people of the world. And we'll probably criticize Obamacare at some point on the show, make fun of stop signs, things like that. And then also I will have times like when I bring a guest on or something, but I may also be able to do those because we don't have a set schedule besides those 2 nights. I can just do a podcast, for instance, where I bring an expert on about something, talk to them for half an hour. If people catch it live, great. And if they don't, it's all archived automatically and you can listen to it on demand. So, for instance, this is hour 2 of the show. So later, if you go to carlrominger.com and log on, and you'll be able to see hour 2 of the show and find it, you'll be able to listen back and see how you sounded.
Wow. Okay.
So that's the plan. Anyhow.
That sounds great.
Now, here's an important question, because a lot of these girls want to know the answer to this. And I'm not kidding here, Mom. I've got like a ton of people have been Facebooking me all day going, it's Mother's Day, you better have your mother on. It was all chicks, None of the guys said that.
Here I am.
But they all want to know because they're asking about recipes. So can we count on you for some more recipes?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Good. Well, we're not going to give them one today. We have to make them come back and listen again. And actually, I was thinking about this. We might even be able to do a vignette where I can call you, rather than call you like live on the air here and use you as filler like I am now, just to be frank, right? I would call you and we could go over a recipe and we could go a little in detail about the recipe. And so then we could put that up as a podcast. And then maybe if you come on the show and talk about the recipe and take a caller's question or something, have a little fun with that. But then you can have the in-depth like advice portion of how to make something. We could do like a 5-minute vignette or some advice like that.
That'd be fine.
So those are the theories. Those are the thoughts. I know you probably have lots to do tonight, hot dates and all that sort of thing. So I will let you
I do. I have a report to write for work.
That sounds like the hottest day of the year.
So...
All right, Mother. Love you very much. Stay out of trouble. And
I will, and I will talk to you another time. Okay.
Okay. Love you, Mom.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so that was my mom. So you guys get the idea. We like to put her on the show, and if you used to listen to me when I was on WHP 580, you'd know my mom was a very regular fixture on that show. And also for recipes, we have on my Facebook page. Put up, and then, of course, various other times put up recipes of hers. We're going to make a complete collection of those, actually. And there's some good stuff there. Like, those sticky buns are pretty darn good. I could say damn good, too. Pretty much I can say anything on this, but we're going to try to keep it family-friendly. That's the other important thing. Even though we're not regulated by the FCC, we're going to try to keep things a little bit cleaner here on Rominger Radio, although I may, for instance, someday drop an F-bomb, and it's probably going to be because something Nancy Pelosi said or did. But if it happens, it happens. And it's not going to cause the entire thing to come to a screeching halt. It might just mean, you're not going to be able to play it for your homeschool class. That's all. But again, we're not going to try to do that. And I ask the callers to keep it clean as well. And I will drop a person if I think they're out of line. But we have a little flexibility. We have flexibility to sort of, just talk like people at the park or men in the bar or, two guys meeting on the subway car or however we're going to do it. You don't have to follow anybody's rules. The government's not involved in this. I hope they're never involved in this. Okay, but they are involved in this. The government's involved up to my they're so far involved, they're tickling my stomach, if you know what I mean. And why do I mean that? Well, okay. So somebody says, use some music, Carl. I'm like, okay, let me check this music thing out. And I knew there were some issues. Well, there's a lot of issues. First of all, anybody who owns a small business out there, like a bar or a restaurant or something where you play music, you'll appreciate this, right? You got to get that license from ASCAP or BMG, and they come in and just for $100 a week or $500 a week or $1,000 a year, depending on your venue and what you do, you can have the right to let the radio or the jukebox play loud. Because if you don't, every time a song's played, there's rights and royalties that have to be paid. So I thought, okay, let's try this for the podcast. What do we have to do? Well, I have to get a BMG license, right, or an ASCAP license, and then they each license about half of all the music. What does that mean? That means I have to figure out which songs are under which license because I can't use the songs that are licensed by the other one. Well, why not? Well, because it won't count, right? My license is no good for the other half. So, okay, what do we do? Well, pretty simple, right? No, it's not. After you just get both of those licenses, and let's say I qualify as a small website, blah, 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 broadcast online, I might be able to work them down to a couple $1,000s a year between the two of them. And then I have to go through the Harvey something agency, which is some freaking Hollywood creation, where I have to pay 8 cents for each song we use in a podcast, multiplied by the number of people listening. Now, right now, there's 5 people listening, so it would cost me 40 cents for each song. If we get lucky and we someday build the audience up and I end up with 10,000 people listening, right? What is that? 8 cents times 10,000. Well, 1,000's $8, right? Is that what it is? No, 100's 80 cents, right? 1,000's $8. So 10,000's $80. So it'd be $80 times a song. So let's say we use Smoke on the Water at the beginning and we do 5 other songs and then 4 more. And we're at 10 songs. Now we're at $800 a podcast because we have to pay that 8 cents per song, per listener, per whatever. And, of course, every time somebody looks at the archive and listens, that adds the number, and we have to revise them and send them more money. You can start to figure out how much money really flows through arts and media when you start to track this licensing stuff down. By the way, if you want to join me here live on the air and you want to talk, it's 717-916-5189. Again, 717-916-5189. Whatever you guys want to talk about. Now, if you don't want to talk about what I'm talking about, you just call in and talk about it. You want to talk about Benghazi? You want to talk about Hillary Clinton? You want to talk about Obamacare? You want to talk about the missing Malaysian plane? You call CNN, not here, okay? 717-916-5189. If you think Fox News is too conservative or too liberal, we'll also hear you out on that one. I always like to make fun of Fox News, and I got everybody hot and bothered on Facebook because, aren't you always making fun of Fox News? Well, I'll tell you why. Because the owner, Rupert Murdoch, he puts naked ladies in the newspaper in England, and then he comes over here and sells all you conservatives a sucker line and says, oh, we're fair and balanced and we believe what you believe. No. We just sell you what we think you believe. Trust me, if American conservatives suddenly became pro-abortion overnight, right? Imagine that, right? Let's just say, going to make up this imaginary hypothetical. Let's just assume that all the conservatives in conservative land and all the conservative Tea Partiers and all the right-wing Christians on my Twitter, who I love, by the way, and I'm not making fun of them, but I'm saying if they all switched and said, okay, we're all in favor of abortions, and Democrats said we're against abortion, and that became the new norm, Fox News would completely switch sides. I'm telling you right now, it's marketed for conservatives. It's marketed towards maybe the mainstream. It doesn't really matter how you want to define it. It's marketed and it's marketing. Anyhow, 717-916-5189. I'm more of a libertarian. I was going to tell you about stop signs, but I digress from this rights management thing again. My point on this is just that because of copyright law and musical performance and public performance and licensing, et cetera, et cetera. I basically need to find a band. Here's the only way you can do it. You got to find a band who writes all their own music and all their own lyrics and plays all their own songs. And you got to get them to sign a crazy legal document authorizing you to use all their stuff without any additional royalties in the future, et cetera, et cetera. So if you're a member of such a crazy local band who's willing to sign such a document in exchange for getting some exposure, or just having your name mentioned every time as a credit at the end of the show with a link to your website from our website, hint, hint, we'd be happy to talk with you. We're just looking for some bumper music and all that good stuff. So I don't know if you follow what I mean or not, but basically would allow us to get from A to B without having to pay all these rights and loyalties fees. I think somebody just tried to call. I don't know for certain. But we'll see. We'll see. I think Gerard did. Let's try. Gerard, if you just tried to call back again. We'll try to grab you. For some reason, Skype did not pick you up. But if you're listening still, feel free to try back. 717-916-5189, and we'll get you on. Oh, boy, what else did I want to talk about today? Well, we talked about the rights management, and we talked about that sort of stuff. I guess I want to talk to you a little bit about what's going on with Russia. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. See, Gerard, trying for 15 minutes, not coming through, huh? Yeah, Gerard, it's popping up, but it's not coming through. Let's see. See, it's not. You say it's ringing, but I don't see anything right now. It's listing you as offline, so I don't know why that is. So go figure. Go figure. I don't know, George. You try the phone number, or try the direct Skype connect. I don't know. It says person you're trying to call is unavailable. Well, I'm here, buddy, and I tried to answer it a minute ago. Please try to call back later. Thank you, Skype. I don't know what's... See, now I'm getting your messages. I'm getting your Facebook. Try calling from Skype, Gerard. Or are you trying the number directly? The fact that your name popped up and not your number tells me that you might not have dialed the number. I don't know. I do not know. What technical difficulties? Technical difficulties. But what's cool is actually in real time here. We can go back and forth and see what's going on. So, yeah. Well, if you want to type me a question, Gerard, you can do that. Just type it and I'll read it out loud and translate for you. Do you have an accent that I should be using or any particular, falsettos you want me to use for your voice? You tell me. In the meantime, now I was going to talk about Russia because these Russians, those people, right, our old enemy, are kind of on the move, and they're going to suck up the Ukraine, and they beat up on Georgia a while back. We're just not looking strong in the world right now. All right, you're going to call from a cell phone, Gerard? Let's try it. And then I will talk about Russia in the meantime, but I will watch for you here. Because my thing with the Russians is... all right, Gerard, I think I'm calling you. Gerard. I'm not sure. We'll see if this connects. Were you trying to call from Facebook? Is that what you were doing? I think because Facebook has this new interface where you can call from Facebook. I think that's what was going on. All right. Well, you try the cell phone, Gerard, and we'll see what happens. It says you missed a call from me. See? All right. See, this technology. Okay, so Russia is in the process of moving forward, and they're trying to basically rejigger an empire over there. And as you know, they're starving to death in the sense that they're dependent on oil money. Their labor force is down. They're aging rapidly. If you see the statistics for how old people are when they die in Russia and the things they die of, it's just terrible. They've had a diphtheria problem where they stopped immunizing kids, which is another important reason to immunize your children, by the way. They had a huge loss, hundreds of thousands of teenagers to diphtheria outbreak a few years back after the collapse of the Soviet Union, which took out a whole class of workers. So Russia really has a real problem. They have some money and some resources right now and enough people to man the country for the moment. But they really need to go on some conquests here to build their economy. And I think that unless we take a more active role to restrain them, we're not going to do that. And, of course, we're tired because we've been busy pounding 2 wars in the Middle East for decades now, and we're not exactly in great shape. So I don't know what the right answer on Russian aggression is. I don't know. Should we be in there fighting them off? What should we do? What should we do? If you have a theory, Gerard, I tried calling you again, but it's, I'm not getting through to you either. So I don't know if you're trying or not trying. I got 3 recent calls. What does that mean? I can't tell. I don't know how to use Skype. Has anybody figured that out yet? I love Skype. I don't know why Skype doesn't want to work. This hour. This is going to be a talk radio show. We're going to do it every Sunday. Oh, here he comes. Here he comes. No? No? Do I have you, Gerard? No? No, Gerard. No, Gerard. Oh, well. So I thought maybe I had him there. We're going to be on every Sunday from 6 to 9, and we're going to take your calls. So it's 916. Oh, here he is. Gerard.
There he is.
All right, boss, I got you.
Hey, how's it going over there?
Not too bad.
That's what's up.
All right, what do you want to talk about?
Well, I wanted to talk about HARP.
Tell me.
Let's talk about HARP. I mean, you know, we talk about funding, and I have the radio show on in my headset too, so I think there's a little delay.
Okay.
So if you wouldn't mind giving me a second and turning down the radio show so I can just conversate with you.
Yeah, this is just like, my friend, just like real radio, where you gotta tell the old lady to turn the radio off.
Turn everything down. Yeah, turn down the TV in the background.
The crazy feedback starts with the old people.
Right.
No offense, old people.
Yeah, definitely. But hey, listen, I mean, we talk about, you know, the government spending millions on, you know, research.
That's beer, by the way, Gerard, in case you're wondering.
Looks like a blue moon. Nothing wrong with that. We talk about them spending millions on research and where the money goes, but yet, like you said, there's no numbers, no facts. There's nothing to really show except for that they feel that the Earth's getting warmer and that the climate's changing. And, you know, that brings me when I think of HARP. A lot of people aren't familiar with HARP. A lot of people don't know what HARP is. I'm sure that I'm sure you're familiar.
Fill us in just in case I'm not.
Well, HARP is I have you as a real big call here. Let me get this smaller. I have you real big on my screen here. HARP is basically it's a research. It's a weather control system in Alaska that was put together to control the weather throughout the world. I mean, it was put together to basically control the environment, is what I feel. I mean, I don't want to let my personal opinions get in the way of the facts. But I know that it's a controlled weather thing that controls the weather environment and can, you know, I feel that it has caused a lot of damage, and that the government uses this to their advantage to take away from, you know, those in need. I mean, notice that these storms only hit places that are poor. You know, why is it that they're hitting only like poor parts of Louisiana, poor parts of, you know, of areas that really aren't doing nothing and taking it away? I don't understand it. Okay.
The High Frequency Active Oral Research Program, or HARP, is an ionospheric research program jointly funded by the U.S. Air Force, U.S. Navy, the University of Alaska, and the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, designed and built by BAE Technologies. Its purpose is to analyze the ionosphere and investigate the potential for developing ionospheric enhancement technology for radio communications and surveillance. The HARP uses a major subarctic facility named the HARP Research Station on Air Force-owned site in Alaska. Yeah, so we've heard about HARP before, and we know that they blow, massive amounts of energy into the ionosphere.
Right.
Yeah.
And you don't feel that can create at any time catastrophes throughout the world. Earthquakes, tsunamis, disrupt communications, so on and so forth.
Here's the answer. The short answer is I don't know. And why would I say that? Because we know that the government does a lot of things. And so, years ago, let me just give you an example. The Tuskegee experiment, right? We did a little biological research on unsuspecting African Americans, right?
Okay.
Then we learned that the Roswell Cancer Institute in Buffalo at one point was dosing people with radiation but not telling them about it because as part of their cancer treatments, they were also just happening to run human trials to study the effects of radiation because of the possible advent of nuclear war. So as a result, they were actually running separate tests on the people, irradiating them to see what happened and running secret experiments, right? And so, but people say, our government would never intentionally hurt people or experiment on ourselves or whatever. I don't tend to believe that's true. So is the HAARP facility really just a really interesting radio antenna facility that happens to have 1 billion watts of power? Or is it used to modify weather, disable satellites, and exert mind control? I don't know. But I'm not going to discount it.
It's just funny how, things are, supposedly getting worse and worse and worse. The weather's getting worse and worse and worse. I'm going to be 40 years old and I can never remember turning on the evening news and the weather being the top story for a whole week,
Right.
And it's always tornadoes. We got 100 tornadoes here. We got 50 tornadoes here. Never heard of anything in my life until within the last 15, 20 years.
Well, see, I'm trying to figure out if that's the effect of things are changing or is that the effect of 20 years ago, we could watch 3 channels, maybe 30 years. I remember as a kid, there was ABC, NBC, CBS, and then you could turn to the UHF and get Channel 29 out of Buffalo, okay? So we had 4 stations. Then they had Fox. But my point is, they didn't have to fill up 100 channels times 24 hours. Now it's 800 channels times 24 hours, So we have to make news up where we just report, Boy Scout troop pitches, tent, news, now. I don't know. My friend. But I think it's interesting.
Sure. It is very interesting. But I just want to get a call in, throw my 2 cents around, listening here.
I love it. And Mark, we're going to do this every Sunday night. Feel free to call in. We're going to do it Wednesday nights too. I figure here's my plan on Sunday nights. The plan is this. Sometimes the news is going to break on a Friday or Saturday, and we're going to be able to talk about breaking news that the news media hasn't digested for a week yet, okay?
Right.
So that's what Sunday night's going to be, and it's going to be about whatever people want to call in about and talk about. And then on Wednesday night, it'll be midweek. If something's happened the first couple days of the week, we'll be able to catch up on it and maybe prelude what we're going to do the next Sunday. But I figured 5 hours would be enough to get started with to fill up. And once we fill that up, we'll add a few more shows. And then I wouldn't mind doing a little bit of, getting some guests on. But rather than do the guests during the talk portions, I'll bring the guests on and we'll do some on-demand podcasts that if you catch them live, great. But if you don't, you don't. And we'll listen to them sporadically. Yeah.
Football season's coming. You maybe do a little minute of sports segments or something.
Let me tell you something.
Scores.
Let me tell you something. I am not the best sports guy in the world. So I am going to lean heavily on people that got the sports knowledge. But I would love to do maybe even add eventually an hour of sports where I'd be happy to moderate and chat about sports, but I really need some people that know the stuff. So what I'd probably like to do is get a panel, get 2 or 3 or 4 guys and gals who really know their stuff, and just moderate the panel and let them talk.
Have a little ESPN,
exactly.
Little log thing online on the radio.
Yeah, we'll do. We'll talk about what's up, what's coming up, and kind of make it. I like golf, so for instance, I feel like I could talk pretty good about golf.
Right.
Football, I can tell you what the Buffalo Bills are up to. I could care less if the Redskins die. No, I'm just kidding. I just said that because one of my buddies is a big Redskins fan. But you know what I'm saying. And then the NFL draft. Right. I mean, I guess nobody's called up to go crazy about the openly gay guy. I saw on Twitter today, everybody was all upset about it.
I'm banned from Facebook for 24 hours for talking about that. So I'm not allowed to make no posts or comments. I was going to make a post and I'm not allowed to talk because I tried to talk about it earlier, and obviously I'm not allowed to talk about it.
And now,
so
let me tell you something. Now, I don't want to put you on a spot here, but
no, that's fine.
What did you say that caused Facebook to ban you? What was so offensive that they? Now, if it's craziness that some expletives or something. But what
it was my feelings about. It was my religious feelings about people of that nature.
You weren't
things that happen. Right. It was my feelings about the Bible says this about these types of things that people do in their life, and this is
But it's hate speech. But it's hate speech on Facebook, according to Facebook.
It's basically considered, that's what they consider it. But to me, I don't understand that because it's not really being hateful. It's really my opinion. And, it's not really hating on a specific. I have friends that are gay.
So you're allowed not to like pedophiles, right?
Right.
Okay. You're allowed to think that I guess you'd probably be allowed to not like heterosexuals too. They probably let you put that up. A buddy of mine said this, and we were talking about this because he's very religious. I'm only quasi-religious. And then I know a guy who's a super atheist, okay?
And I'll be honest, I'm not very religious myself, but I talk about it because I have to try to express to those who are, because those are the people who seem to be following this and thinking it's just A-okay. And I don't understand that. If you're religious and you follow the book the way it's supposed to be. Don't make it right just for you to get through life.
Well, see, and so, my buddy was saying, he's like, he goes, these atheist guys drive me nuts because they'll put a billboard up mocking Jesus. He goes, but they won't put anything up mocking Muhammad or Allah. He's like, because they're scared. He said, because the difference is you can do all you want, make all the fun you want of Christian religion, but if you make fun of a Muslim or a Muslim religion, you might get a fatwa ordered against you. And he's like, it's like if they really want to be anti-religious, then be anti-religious with everybody. And I bring back to my point just being is I understand why some people would be offended. You know what I mean? In other words, if I were gay, I would be obviously offended. If I'm not gay, I may still be offended. But I can also sympathize that people have heartfelt religious beliefs, ones I may not necessarily agree with, but they truly believe what they believe. And sometimes it will be something that you and I think is normal or acceptable, and sometimes it will be something that's a little wacky. Or we just perceive that way, but they perceive something about us as being a little wacky, Right. And so it sort of takes a more sophisticated analysis to go, okay, this guy really believes this, so...
my main problem with it, Carl, isn't the fact that it is people that are gay. It's the fact that you have to advertise and commercialize, and it's just like... Everybody who's famous, it turns gay, they make it the top story on the news. What I care what someone does in the bedroom doesn't matter really to me. I don't think that it's fair to publicize that, though.
This goes right back to what we were talking about a minute ago, though, because I'm going to tie this back, because this is where all the similarities in the world. Remember I told you a minute ago when I said, is there more weather events happening, or is it just that there's more news about the weather events?
Right.
Well, that's it. That's the power of the news, right? Because you're exactly right. If an NBA owner makes a racist comment in the forest and nobody hears it, right, nothing happens.
Right,
and
exactly.
If he makes a racist comment and TMZ picks it up and it's a slow news cycle otherwise, he has to sell his team, okay? But the reality is he'd made racist comments before. Other people have made racist comments. I'm not sympathizing with the guy, nor am I protecting him. Trust me, I have no problem with the end result. But my point is it's the vagaries of life. So years ago, this is just interesting how when you don't hear something, there was a convention with people who grow crystals, okay, and scientists for growing crystals, and they want to grow crystals in space. But some other guy had figured out that if you put them in a centrifuge, instead of zero gravity, you create real high gravity. You can grow these really pure crystals when you artificially put him in an artificially high gravity environment by using a centrifuge. But the day he was to give his presentation, the sound system failed at the conference, okay? So they were outdoors, and he gave his presentation, but the joke was most people couldn't hear it because he's up on stage, and it was outdoors, it was loud background noise. And so people say if that guy had been heard, then the entire body of 400 scientists who were there to listen to him would have picked up on his research and maybe gone a different direction earlier. Later,
Right.
20 years later, they figured out this is a great idea. And then, of course, the poor guy's like, well, I presented a paper on this 20 years ago. You guys are just figuring this out. The idea is the information didn't flow. And so it changed the way things work. Other times, information flows and things work. But guess who the gatekeepers of the information are? The media, right?
Correct.
I mean, at the end of the day, you, me, and maybe 100 other people are going to listen to this simultaneously. But if NBC News goes on the air and says, that I'm one half monkey or something, the entire world's going to be pretty sure Carl Rominger's one half monkey because it was on the news and 18 million people heard it that night. So,
Right.
So their power, like you say, to control, and so that's why I say, has the world changed, or has what we hear about the world changed? And of course, you can change the world by changing what people hear about the world.
Correct.
Isn't that crazy?
Correct. The same way with music. I mean, you put negative music into an environment. Eventually, the environment's going to become negative, and that works the same way. So yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I mean, there's just, what can you do? I mean, you can speak your mind, but if you don't have enough people that are willing to help make a change, it sort of doesn't matter. It's sad.
All right, my friend, I'm going to let you go.
All right. Thank you a lot.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
All right,
good
boss.
show.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right, Diana, I know you're trying to call in too, so if you want to give it a shot, we're done. So maybe your call will come through this time. So Diana, I know you were trying to get in. Give it a try. 717-916-5189. We're still working through the what we call it, the bugs with Skype. It's not really bugs. It is what it is. It's going to take a little while to get the smoothness onto this show. You know what I mean? And when I say that, I mean eventually we're going to get to where we want to be, where everything goes smooth. But until then, probably, like I said, I think what I'm going to do is put the Skype on a separate internet connection. Because obviously the Spreaker connection has to stream a live sound broadcast up. And so that takes up a little bit of the bandwidth up. Of course, a lot of people probably know this, maybe you don't know this. When you buy bandwidth for your computer, they give you so much down and so much up. And they actually give you a lot more down than they give you up. So using up the up bandwidth can certainly slow something down. So when you're trying to run Skype and a broadcast at the same time on the same connection, I can imagine there's a little bit of parceling issues going on. On the other hand, I have a pretty good connection with Comcast. To be honest with you, I've been pretty happy with them over the years. I haven't thrown anything at the TV in a while. But I want to talk about what we were just talking about here a second ago. The access that the media has, and that's what this show's all about. This is to give me access to you and you access to me and all of us access to each other. I think we can build a community online and also in live discussion that will be fun to listen to, interesting to listen to, and something that, when you're driving down the road, you can pop on. If you have a smartphone and you plug it into your car's audio system, you can stream the sound and listen to the show. You can also do the podcast. I'm not recommending anybody listen to me in their spare time. I think that I sometimes feel bad for people who do, but nonetheless, I'm also getting some kind of weird spam on the Facebook, but I don't completely understand that either. Let's see. Okay, so anybody else that wants to try calling, you want to give us a buzz? We'll see. Kathleen, can you get through? Whoever wants to try next, I know We missed a few calls there because of the other call we were on. But that's the point. When we're on a call, we can't keep taking more. I don't want to put 3 people on together. I have no idea what they'll do to the internet connection. More importantly, I don't want everybody fighting with each other. 717-916-5189. Carl Rominger here with Rominger Radio. Go to carlrominger.com, KarlRominger.com. Sign up with the Skype application on your phone. Sign up to follow me to get alerts when we go live on the air. That will help so you know what's going on. And so when you go to the website, just so you understand, when we're live, it's going to be piped right up there. And when we are not live, it will be the latest podcast available. And then if you go to the Spreaker site, you can look at all the old shows too. Plus, as you know, I used to do Weekend Appointment, a legal call-in show on WHP 580. I've got all the archives of that. I got like 300 of those episodes up on Spreaker as well. So if you want to go back, one of the things we're going to do is try to go through those archives, by the way, listen to the shows and figure out what kinds of legal questions we answered on each show. So you could go back and search through and find the various topics if you want to look them up. Going forward, this is going to be a politics, what's going on show. Based on a couple of the calls they've had so far, we may be heading into the late night hours of talk radio as well. You know, aliens, extraterrestrials, what's going on. I'm always interested in those topics. I have some good stories. I was almost abducted once. Well, maybe. Anyhow, we're going to come back because what we're going to do again here is this is going to end the 7 o'clock hour, and we have one more hour coming up here. So get your calls ready. It's for 717-916-5189. Carl Rominger here. When you come back for the next hour, we'll talk about what you guys want to talk about. 717-916-5189. We got an hour left to go. And I will see you guys in a minute.